City Regional Joint Scrutiny Committee on Tuesday, 2nd of May 2023. I'm Councillor Bowen and I will be chairing the meeting this afternoon. Please can you ensure that all your phones switch to silent for the duration of the meeting. If you have any questions, please raise your electronic hand if you're attending virtually. There's nobody in the chamber, so I won't go there. Please only use the chat function to indicate if you wish to speak an alternative to your electronic hand or if you have any technical issues. Your microphone should be switched to mute unless you are speaking. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be available for repeat viewing on the website following this meeting. Right, we now move on to agenda 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations, please?
Can't see any, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item 3, minutes from the meeting held on the 6th of 12th, 22 and the 28th of the 2nd, 23 are included on the agenda for approval. They are on pages 3 to 14. Does any member have any comments to make on the accuracy of the minutes? Right, can I please have a proposer and a seconder to approve the minutes, please?
I'm happy to propose.
I'll second it.
Thank you for that. Right, can we move on to agenda item 4? The report is on 15 to 26 of the scrutiny papers, and this is for Pentre Howell. Could we have fetch in Sharon Burford, please, to give the presentation?
Hello, thank you. Sorry to attend virtually rather than in person in the chamber, but thank you for inviting me along today. If you bear with me, I will share a presentation, if that's okay. Can I? Thank you. Can I just check that that is visible to everybody?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so apologies, was that? Oh, okay, thank you. So my name's Sharon Burford and I am the project manager for the Pentre Howell development, which is incidentally, as you see, we've had a rebranding. We now have it, we have added the location to the branding there. So I'm the project manager and Chris Moore is our senior responsible owner. So with your permission, if that's okay, I will run a very short presentation which will give you an overview. Are we happy with that? Yeah.
Sorry, Chair. Sharon, there's no sound on this.
Mike, can I fetch you in? I can see you've raised your hand.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I was wondering, is this accompanied with sound or is it a silent presentation?
No, there is sound. We're just trying to sort it out now.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Are you happy for me to continue, or do you want me to stop sharing for a moment?
No, you can continue, Sharon.
Okay. Okay, I will go back to the presentation.
Sharon, there's still no sound. Would you like us to share the video from our side?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, if you could just bear with us a second then, please.
Apologies.
No, that's fine.
Pentre Awel is a multi-million-pound project set in a prime location along the Llanelli coast, bringing together life science and business innovation, community healthcare, assisted living and modern leisure facilities. It will provide world-class research facilities and healthcare delivery, and will support and encourage people to lead active and healthy lives. The project will be developed in phases across 4 zones. Zone 1, estimated completion 2024. It includes a new £27 million leisure centre with 25-metre 8-lane swimming pool, learner splash pool and hydrotherapy suite, cutting-edge gym, 8-court sports hall, dance and spin studios, play area and much more. Zone 1 also includes incubation and acceleration spaces for businesses to research and develop innovative healthcare technology. Clinical Delivery and Research Centre, focusing on community-based research and providing multidisciplinary care closer to home. Education and Training Centre, focusing on health and care training. Cafe and meeting areas. Landscaped outdoor public spaces for recreation and walking and cycling. Later phases include a hotel and open market housing, nursing home and extra care facility and social and affordable housing, assisted living accommodation, further business expansion space. Pentre Awel will create almost 2,000 jobs and training apprenticeship opportunities and boost the local economy by £467 million.
Thank you. Can we go on to the next slide, please?
Yeah, can you just bear with us? We just changing the slides a minute.
Thank you. So, okay, so what you've heard on the video is basically, sorry, my screen's gone black.
Apologies, it's just loading my end. 1 second.
Okay,
Thank you.
no worries.
Yeah, just apologies. Technology is a great thing and when it works properly. Just waiting for it to load.
That's unfortunately, because of the video, it is a huge file. So yeah, we do get okay. Okay. Okay, can everyone see that now? Is that okay for everyone else? Okay, so the video gave you a little insight into the Pentrowel development, and just then for a little bit more context, here it is on the original site master plan. So the bulk of my presentation will cover zone 1, which is the central zone, the large building in the middle of your screen, surrounded in the blue box. And just for context, this is where all the city deal money is being invested. So that is the 40 million for this project is being invested in that zone 1 area. So on to the next slide, which just gives you the master plan again in English. So, yeah.
Apologies, it's just loading there.
That's okay. So if
Yeah, that's all it is. It's the files are so big, they just taken a little bit longer to load. So if you can just bear with us.
it's actually after this one, the slides should get quite small, should get slightly smaller in terms of the size of the individual sheets. It's actually the next slide I need, not it's that slide 5 is the next one I actually would speak to, because I've covered what's in slide 4, because 3 and 4 are just the Welsh and English translations. But I think, yeah.
Okay, we try and skip straight to that one.
I've skipped to slide 5 now. Just
Skip
hoping
to
that one-
5.
that one
And
loads.
hopefully then the presentation should run easily after that point. Do you want to go back and see if I can share it more easily?
Yeah,
Would it
we'll try
be-
that, Sharon. Yeah.
Let me try and share. Sorry, I can skip.
That seems to be working now.
Is that okay? Can you see? Can I just check that everyone can see the slide key outputs and enablers? Is that okay for everyone else?
Yes.
Yes, thank
Right.
you. I can see that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so what I've just put on this slide are some of the key outputs that we will achieve through the Pentrowel development. So as you heard on the slide, on the presentation, it's around 1,800 jobs across all the zones. The economy, huge increase in regional gross value added contribution, but also a range of education skills and training opportunities will be based here. Currently, we're heavily focused again on the construction skills and training, because that's the phase the project is in at the moment. But as we move forward, the skills will particularly be focused around health and care training. And I'll just say a little bit more about that in a subsequent in a slide that's to come. The other thing Pentrowel aims at is to improve the population health and well-being. And we've done quite a bit of work around looking at how we can reduce GP demand and hospital admissions. But I think what I wanted to say, and I hope the slide has moved on now. What I want to say here, though, is what we plan at Pentrowel will be achieved through partnership working. It's really key for us that the tenants that will be at Pentrowel will work across their traditional boundaries and look for joint working opportunities. I think, one of the areas I would highlight where this is happening is around education, skills and training. We've currently mapped education, skills and training that we'll need ahead of opening and when Pentre Awel is in steady state operation, and meeting the skills needs locally for care, health and care. And what we're looking at doing is those will be embedded within the clinical delivery that we're also providing on site here. So for example, Hywel Dda will have a clinical delivery area within Zone 1, and they will be focusing on physical therapies such as physiotherapy, occupational therapy, lymphedema, audiology. So what we will be doing is working with our education providers and with the health board. We will be looking to embed students within that clinical environment. So and the facilities have been designed specifically with that in mind. So I just want to, one of the key areas for us in terms of particularly looking at the city deal outputs in terms of jobs and GVA increase is around business and innovation. So the top floor of Zone 1 will be business space. It will be incubation space and growth space for companies. We currently have a partnership agreement with Cardiff University, who will lead on that innovation and business at Pentre Awel. But I think it's really important to say, although Cardiff are leading on that, we have the 3 universities. So we have Cardiff, Swansea University and University of Wales Trinity St David's are key partners within that business and innovation environment. And Hywel Dda Clinical Research and their clinical engineering teams as well. What we've done is to ensure that we kick off the outputs and the benefits of Pentre Awel as soon as we can. We've started to work already to look at partnership projects and proof of concept. And we've looked at how we can do small scale trials, small scale pieces of work to make sure that we've got all the correct agreements in place and that those agreements actually work and that we can evidence the outputs of those. If I can give you one very, very quick example. We had some private sector funding for a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. That's basically to look at its benefits for long COVID. So that's where you treat people under high pressure oxygen treatment for people, a bit like you would have people being treated for the bends in diving. So what that did was it tested to see if we could have access to patients within the and use the private sector funding to do a trial within the Pentre Awel framework. So what we did, and we've brought in elite sport as well, because that hyperbaric oxygen chamber is now currently located within the Scarlets. It was overseen by a local pharmacist in conjunction with Cardiff University. So it was an interesting proof of concept which worked, and now we can evidence the way that worked going forward. We're currently looking at another 10 projects, and we've done an interesting mapping exercise again across all our partners to identify opportunities for future research and business. Education. So within Pentre Awel, University of Wales Trinity St David's lead all the skills delivery. But again, although Trinity St David's lead the skills delivery, it is in partnership with our other education partners and with further education. And the education is linked, as I mentioned before, to the service delivery. Clinical delivery, we have had huge amount of support from Hywel Dda Health Board, and Hywel Dda will have a significant presence within Zone 1. But the types of treatments that they're looking at are very much community-based services, care closer to home, looking at alternatives to supporting people in the community rather than admission to hospital. And this is very important for some of our links to the businesses and innovation development, because one of our key areas of work there is around digital technologies to support people better in their own homes. And we've also with Hywel Dda, we've just been informed that we've had £1.2 million of funding from a legacy trust that's been held in America, and that is to support the delivery of a hydrotherapy pool, which Hywel Dda will be running, which we will build and Hywel Dda will run within Pentre Awel. Construction, we are on site. So we've appointed Bouygues as our main contractors. We have had, it was a two-stage contract. So we've completed the pre-construction phase, which was a lot more around the design and the preparation work of the site ahead of full construction. But in February this year, we went to Carmarthenshire Council, full council, and got endorsement to proceed into full construction. The construction commenced in February, apologies, and the piling is almost completed. There is a sectional completion, so the first part of the building will be completed in September 24, and that's primarily looking at the education components because we want to align that with the start date of the academic year, with the full completion of Zone 1 in October 24. This is my last slide, but I just wanted to pick up a couple of other things that I think I'd like just to update you on. And one is community benefits. It is a huge public sector contract, and we recognise the responsibility that comes with that. So we are heavily focused on looking at community benefits that will come from the Pentre Awel development. The photograph in the bottom left-hand corner there is actually the launch of our Schools Ambassador programme. One of the things that we're really focusing on in the pre-construction phase was around how we could engage with local schools and start to bring the young people into and inform them more around the Pentre Awel opportunities, and also for the older school children around construction jobs and construction employment opportunities. As we've now moved into full construction, we have a lot more focus coming into play around the education and the training opportunities that Bouygues are bringing to site. And also, and very, absolutely vital for us, is the supply chain opportunities that Bouygues will bring. When we went out to tender, community benefits was a very key part of that tender process. And we have set up a group within Carmarthenshire Council to ensure that Bouygues meet all their obligations that they put in their tender around that supply chain and around their apprenticeship and wider education targets. We have recently been told that a number of key contracts have been placed with local suppliers, and we are monitoring those really strictly within the authority. I think that's about all I really want to say, but more than happy to take any questions that anyone has, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you, Sharon, for that presentation. Really gives an eye-opener on that. I'm going to open it now to members' questions. If anybody got any questions, please. Councillor Hawley.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Sharon, thank you for the presentation, quite enlightening and very, very exciting project. The one thing I would ask, though, the leisure element of it, Obviously in Swansea, we've got Freedom Leisure running ours now. Is that going to be, who's going to be running it in Pentre Awel? And you know, you say the benefits on the zone 1. How are they going to, how are the jobs going to be created in that, and who's going to be the employer there? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So first of all, it will be Carmarthenshire County Council will be running all Zone 1, and so therefore we'll be running the leisure. We will have, and in a way there was the existing Llanelli Leisure Centre is beyond economic repair. And so we have, as part of the capital programme, to build a new leisure centre. Llanelli needs a new leisure centre, and the decision was back a few years ago that it would come to Pentre Awel, and it would work, because one of the things that we really are focusing on is how we can work with the health board and look at things like the National Exercise Referral Scheme and absolutely step that up another notch so that we can have people who are attending the clinical rehabilitation area, the physical, you know, the physiotherapy area, and then encourage them with that move, but it's literally just across the corridor. So we are looking at how we can move them across the corridor when they're at an appropriate time and help them become more independent and take some more control over their own rehabilitation programme. And it's physical rehabilitation, obviously, because the clinical delivery is right across the corridor from the gym.
Right, so thank you very much for the information. Thank you.
So with the businesses, they will be private businesses or catalysed by the universities or through the clinical research with Hywel Dda. But we would expect that spin out then. As those companies grow, we have a business expansion space on site, but we would also then encourage those businesses across the wider, you know, the wider area, working with the internal economic regeneration teams and some specialist support around things, you know, some specialist support around things like intellectual property. But more than happy to send you some more information on that, Councillor Holly, if that is of specific interest.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Right, I can't see any more hands raised for questions. Sharon, thank you very much for your presentation. This report is for information purposes, so we note the report. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation.
Right, now we move on to agenda item 5, Swansea-based city deal highlight. The report is on page 27 to 40 of the scrutiny papers, and I'd like to fetch in the officer, Phil Ryder, please.
Thank you, Chair. So as Chair mentioned, the report is within the pack. So what I will do is I'm go over some key highlights as we see them from the report, and then if there are any questions around anything wider within the highlight reports, happy to pick those up at the end. So from a portfolio perspective, there's been significant movement again within the last sort of 2-3 months, appreciating this is a month or so ago now. And we've seen significant progress in delivery since Christmas. With regards to comms and marketing, we've had issue 6 of the comms and marketing plan has now been approved at programme board and is now being implemented across the portfolio in order to ensure that all comms and marketing in relation to the city deal is consistent. We've had updated social media posts with regards to the groundbreaking activities at Pentre Awel, hangar annexes in PDM project nearing completion, business and economy roundtable discussions, HAP supply chain events, and 71-72 the Kingsway in Swansea progressing through street level and into the above ground structure works. We've also facilitated the latest ESB meeting. Economic Strategy Board was facilitated by Pembroke Dock, and that included a site visit following the group, which highlighted to our colleagues and wider stakeholders the opportunities linked to the PDM project. Obviously, we've just received Sharon's update, so again, there's not an awful lot that I can add at this point in time. I think the key point to just reiterate, though, was the fact that it's now commenced on site, and that is another City Deal project into delivery physically on site, which takes the overall project number up to around 15, 16 of the 35 projects under the 9 headline programs are now into delivery on site or completed. So that's again key steps forward. With regards to digital infrastructure program completed their benefits realization activity for the financial year 21-22. I know that was essentially a year ago now, but what they've been doing is working on a methodology of how to capture the benefits of digital. That's now been developed and is now allowing for much quicker reporting from that particular program. Just to give the figures on that particular year, so the private sector investment was the key achievement, if you like, in that year. It surpassed all of the other investment initiatives in the year and delivered just over 14 million of private sector investment for that particular program in the year 21-22, which is a significant amount of their overall private sector investment target, which is just over 16 million. Moving on to support and innovation, low carbon growth, then the Neath-led project. The Bay Technology Centre has been operating for a little while. It now has 3 full-time clients within the centre, and a 4th is hopefully imminent. There's kind of final discussions ongoing with regards to the lease. With regards to the Switch project, the South Wales Industrial Transition from Carbon Hub, there was 3 high-quality bids received just before Christmas. They've been through an assessment period, and the I can't think of the technical term now. Sorry, it's the time for challenge. So the opportunity for any of the bidders to challenge on any of the bids that were received has now lapsed, and we should see the successful bidder for the design and build process being announced within the coming weeks on that particular project. And the final point to note within the report is that the Property Development Fund received 9 stage 1 applications. So the Property Development Fund related to the Support and Innovation Low Carbon Growth Programme. And what that means is that there was 9 compliant bids essentially moving from stage 1 to stage 2, where further details around the proposals will be scrutinised by the authority. And that is a key excuse me, a key linkage to improving businesses within the Neath Talbot area. Moving on to PDM, with regards to the Pembroke Dock infrastructure project, lots 1 and 2 have their construction works now underway, and lots 2A has reserved matters sign off received. So again, it's key steps forward into delivery with large numbers of projects now ongoing. And PDZ, the Pembroke Demonstration Zone, received pre-front-end engineering design procurements have been completed for a 400 megawatt and 1 gigawatt platform. Those are the 2 testing elements, if you like the proof of concept in relation to the floating offshore wind aspirations of PDM. So again, it's positive steps forward with regards to the R&D elements required up front in relation to the excuse me, in relation to the PDZ project. Moving on then to Swansea Waterfront, as I previously mentioned, with regards to the media and comms, construction is now continuing on 71-72, and the building is now well above ground and still on for completion by the end of this calendar year, with occupation due early in the new year. With regards to then the Innovation Matrix, another project that sits underneath the Swansea Digital Waterfront, that commenced on site on the 6th of March. So again, it's a further project on site. The linked project, the Innovation Precinct with University of Wales Trinity St David, we're in discussions with the university about a potential change in the delivery strategy to that particular project, that being simply a move of site, essentially, still within Swansea, but more towards the city centre than in the dock area. The Homes as Power Stations project have awarded contracts for the supply chain activities within the HAPS scheme. That was an area that was causing slight delays to the delivery of the scheme because on multiple occasions tried to get resources within the authority to deliver the supply chain activity unsuccessfully, unfortunately. So awarding a contract for the initial supply chain mapping activity has allowed the scheme to continue progressing as per the delivery plan. And a further contract was awarded for the technical monitoring contract and the partnership is with Cardiff University Welsh School of Architecture. Moving on to Eregin, University of Wales Trinity St David have now commissioned consultants to work with them following the sector demand study that they undertook tail end of last year, to work with them and determine how best they can deliver what the industry is telling them they need from Egin Phase 2. So further updates to be received on that in coming months. They are presenting to joint committee is either, I think it's in July, so following that, obviously there's an opportunity there to scrutinise that once it's gone through joint committee. And then moving on to the campuses project. Campuses have progressed some of the elements of work predominantly at the Sketty Lane site and have awarded contracts for their external consultants, architect design-led team. So that covers the architect, the project management and cost management elements. Finally, moving on to skills and talent, we now have, or we did have at the point of writing, 7 pilot projects approved for the skills and talent programme. So I think, Chair, that's a very high level overview of the key activities that were delivered in the period that we were discussing, and obviously happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much for that, Phil. Do any members have any questions they'd like to ask, please? If you can raise your hands. Councillor Hawley.
Yes, thanks, Chair. On the digital infrastructure, on the report, it says about the risks. Public sector partners don't prioritise delivery, adoption of digital infrastructure. What's the problem, or is there a problem with it, or is it a perceived problem?
No, there is. Thank you for the question, Councillor. There is no problem with the partners. I think obviously the nature of digital, it's just a red risk for the programme that they rely heavily on the private sector to deliver infrastructure improvements across the region. And if for whatever reason that was to slow down or that was to stop in certain parts of the region, there's a potential impact on the programme, which is why it's been highlighted as a risk. It's not an issue. Obviously, the key difference there being is something that could potentially slow the programme down if it were to come to fruition. But at this point in time, there is no issue.
Okay, and the other one is then about overall on all these projects. Is the effect of inflation and the construction costs?
Yep.
Because I think everybody on the call here, even if you can see the effects of inflation on everyday products, or if you buy from from potatoes to concrete, I should imagine. So what has been the effect right across the board on inflation? Have we set aside a figure, or is there a shortfall figure? Or are we managing by through talking to the constructors about engineering or value engineering the projects, etc.
Yeah, so there's multiple answers to that. I'll give you one answer, and then if I've missed something, then please feel free just to ask again. But what we've done and what we're presenting to joint committee is we've undertaken an assessment of what we believe the funding gap was at the end of last year. That's something that will be updated here on out now as a regular update from the project, and as we complete more procurements, we'll have accurate figures as opposed to just a forecast of what we believe the potential impact of those inflation and cost pressures are. To date, they've been primarily managed through a range of activities. It's been some additional funding coming from the authorities or the lead deliverers themselves. And there's been some activity where potentially there might have been value engineering activity undertaken. But with regards to the value engineering activity undertaken, there's nothing being removed from the scheme that is having an impact on the overall portfolio deliverables at this point in time. That said, obviously it is a moving target, and there is potential further down the line if things get any worse or don't get any better, that potentially we may need to look at the possibility of some of the targets needing to be, I don't want to use the word reduced, but we may have to rationalize some of the targets to ensure that we deliver the key aims and objectives of the deal. But we aren't at that stage yet. We've obviously for a number of years had a change procedure in place where if we need to take anything through the regional governance in order to change something that would change any of the deliverables, we have that process in place. And we have that linkage with both governments as well. So we can bring them to the table and ask for, I suppose, approval if we do need to look at any mitigations that stretch beyond value engineering or additional funding being available from the respective lead deliverers. So at this point in time, we've got appropriate mitigations, and we haven't seen a detriment of any of the benefits that we're proposing. But obviously it is a point in time assessment, and things do change. So that's something that potentially in the future we would have to consider. So I hope that has answered the question and give you the situation of where we are. But if I've missed anything, happy to pick it back up.
No, that's fine. It's just that the fact that because of the inflation costs have been so high amongst everything from from my own experience and buying paint, it's gone ridiculous, over the last period. So I was wondering how that's going to affect. But I can see there will have to be some value engineering in many of the projects. There's just no other way of doing it. But thanks very much for your answers.
And sorry, just to add to that, we have seen as well, just to give you the full picture, we've seen some increases in wherefore funding as well, which has mitigated some of it, because as you will be aware, the wherefore funding is drawing to a close. So where it's been available, we've also been able to utilize some additional funding to meet some of the pressures as well.
Okay, thank you for that, Phil, and for your questions, Mike. Right, I can't see any more hands raised on this item. So if everybody's okay, we'll move on to item 6, Swansea Bay City deal. Oh, sorry, as previously mentioned, this report is for information purposes, so we note the report. And again, item 6, Swansea Bay City deal portfolio business case. This report is on 41 to 474 of the scrutiny papers. And I'd like to fetch Phil back in again, please.
Sorry, Chair, it's Ian Williams is taking you through the business case.
Oh, right, okay, thank you. Sorry, Ian, if I could fetch you in then, please.
That's fine, Chair, no problem, and good afternoon, everyone. Just as a way of a background, the original portfolio business case was produced back in August 2020. It was a requirement of government and based on the original heads of terms for the city deal and the projects and programs that were selected to be part of that. It's been developed according to the HM Treasury 5-case model, which is quite specific in its requirements. At that time, it underwent a rigorous review process with government, and following that, it was approved with the release of the first tranche of the City Deal funding that followed. It's been agreed with government that the business case will be subject to an annual review and updated by the PMO for the City Deal, and submitted back to government to act as an annual trigger for the release of City Deal funding going forward. This is now the fourth iteration of the business case. It's passed through Programme Board and City Deal Joint Committee last month. The information within it is based on Q3 monitoring information, so that's also passed through the relevant governance boards. Now I've got a presentation to share, which just picks out the main changes that have been included in this latest version of the business case. It's got no sound, so hopefully it'll be quite straightforward to operate. But is it appropriate that I share that?
Yes, that's fine.
Give me a sec. Okay, hopefully you can see that presentation. Just to reiterate the purpose of the business case, it's the strategic business case for the whole of the City Deal portfolio is to demonstrate the need for the intervention, for the change that the programs and the projects bring. It has to demonstrate policy alignment at the national, at the Welsh and a regional and local level. It demonstrates value for money of the projects and the programs, the affordability across the portfolio, and the deliverability of those elements as well. The latest iteration demonstrates the progression with the projects and programs within it, and the management arrangements for the delivery of the portfolio. And as I mentioned, it's the basis for the investment from governments and the release of the next tranche of the City Deal funding. Just to give some headline overview of what this business case contains, it demonstrates that the business case remains valid and impactful and in line with the original heads of terms of the City Deal. All partners are committed to delivering the headline business cases and realising the benefits. Portfolio is experiencing delivery slippage. However, despite the challenging economic conditions, and we've talked already about the construction costs and inflationary pressures, projects and programs are coming forward and being delivered on the ground. And to that effect, benefits are starting to be realised and will accelerate as the portfolio moves further into delivery. Really, we wouldn't go forward then. What I'll do, Chair, I'll work through each of the 5 cases one by one and just pick out the main changes in each of them. The strategic case, there's updated information on the strategic alignment of the portfolio with various new strategies and policies coming into play at all levels of government, including accounting for the CJCs being established now. There's supplemented information with regards to carbon reduction assessment and the impact of portfolio activities on that. It's been updated with acknowledgement of the challenging economic conditions and including the increase of inflationary pressures. I've too have been buying paint recently, councillor, and I think we're all tested with the increases there. The risk section has been updated with the current portfolio, red risks and issues. In the economic case, there's not much to change here. There's been updated business case approval and economic appraisal information and inclusion of the current jobs created information in this section of the business case. In terms of economic viability, I've just highlighted a section within the economic case which demonstrates the return on investment, if you like, that there's a positive return on investment across the portfolio from every single one of the projects and the programs, which is demonstrating really good value for money for public sector investment in the city deal. In terms of economic impact, they remain in line or in excess of the original heads of terms, with GVA impact of £2.3 billion and jobs created in excess of 9,500. In the commercial case, there's been updated procurement principles section to demonstrate procurement delivery in accordance with the agreed principles of the city deal. The key procurements undertaken to date have been detailed. There's been something like 286 million to date, with another 123 million planned over the next 12 months. There's an updated procurement pipeline in this section as well, and a register of all the planned procurement activities at the programme project level. And as we heard from Sharon Pentrowell, there's updated information on community benefits, and there's a lot of good work going on across the portfolio in terms of maximising community benefits for the projects and programmes being delivered. In the financial case, the investment is more or less stable at £1.247 billion. The information has been updated on the income, expenditure and cash flow, as well as grant drawdown and the dissemination to projects and programmes. There's a reprofile of the portfolio budget, which does show slippage this financial year from the previous version. However, there's no overall effect on the benefits that are expected to come from portfolio delivery. This is a summary table of the investment across each of the programs and projects. It remains relatively stable. It totals to £1.247 billion. Of course, the challenging one will be to hit the private sector investment target, but a lot of good work is happening, as Phil has already mentioned, in relation to meeting that target over the lifetime of the city deal. The management case is all about deliverability and how the portfolio is managed. The PMO was adopted and rolled out the Soloxis project management software. There's current monitoring information, monitoring and evaluation information included, including an M&E plan, dashboard presentation, and current information for risks, issues, benefits, and financial monitoring. There's approved independent assurance arrangements for the portfolio, and the same for guidance for the development and approval of individual business cases that form part of the overall portfolio. Business case status and project stage summary has been updated in this section as well as the delivery roadmap for all the projects and programs. And that's the final slide, Chair, which just demonstrates where we are at the moment in terms of delivery. across the portfolio. As you can see, the red line shows the reporting stage of the business case, and we're well into delivery across the board, and we'll move further into that over the next 2 or 3 years, where there's a quite an intense program of delivery happening. Next steps, it was approved by the business case was approved on the 6th of April in joint committee. It was submitted to government on the 11th of April. It now gets considered by the Welsh City and Growth Deal Investment Board in June, and our director, John Burns, and the Section 151 officer, Chris Moore, will attend to give a presentation to that board. There's the annual portfolio gateway review in July this year, and efforts will be made to progress the individual business cases of each of the projects and programs, and particular efforts on the engagement with private industry to secure inward investment going forward. So that's the basic summary, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions on that.
Thank you very much for that, Ian. I'm just going to open it up now. Do any members have any questions for the officers, please? Right, I can't see any questions for you, Ian, so I'd like to thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you.
And as previously mentioned, this report is for information purposes, so we note this report. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, we move on to agenda item 8, urgent items. I have no urgent items for today. So that's the end of today's session. I'd like to thank you all for attending and enjoy the rest of your day.